What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the latest chapter review for Kengan Omega, chapter 326. Time to begin, and we're still prepping. We're still prepping here in this chapter. Thankfully, too, because I've had already a very long week, and it's only bloody Wednesday. I've had a very long week, so thankfully, this chapter is a continuation of the last one, sort of just showcasing us some of the fighters, some familiar faces, hyping up the fact that the big main event, the supposed quote-unquote final arc of Kengan, is about to begin. Now, I am really stoked for this, and I hope you guys are too. The familiar faces, we see, once again, some of the people here may or may not be participating, however, so there's no real confirmation one way or another. We can assume the usual suspects. All the S tier is going to be here, right? But who else is going to be here but not actually participate in the fight? We get some hints as a few people who definitely are, who aren't S tier characters, but the first opening page, we have the bee stinger guy who looks like he's pumped and ready to go. Is Toa gonna be there? We have our wrestler dude, the delinquent sumo wrestler there. We have Chiba. Are these guys? We saw Chiba last chapter as well. Are these guys just here to watch and see what happens, or are all four of them participating? We have no clue. Then we get to see Okubo and Seki just chilling, chatting about stuff while Rio and Gao Lang warm up with each other's, talking about the terrain and the fact that even though most of them have been in like cities and street fights and in back alleys and stuff like that, fighting in the middle of the woods is something quite new to most of the fighters. Now, of course, we have a couple exceptions to this rule. People like Oma, who of course is brought up here about the fact that they're fighting in the forest. Rahito gets it wrong, and the fact that Oma is like, oh right, you were raised in that. No, I learned the final steps of the Nikos down there, so I was there for a few days or a few weeks or what have you. But where's Miketsuchi, another person who had to survive to master the Rashin style, the lightning style sort of idea. And then of course Wakatsuki has been training in Gakuriku Forest. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Point is that we're seeing a lot of the familiar faces, but still very little confirmation on who's going to be appearing, other than obviously guys like Gao Lang and stuff like that, and Rio talking about being in street fights and not being able to fight in the forest. Kaede is here and mentions, well, like it or not, we only have half a day, and we've come too far to back out now. The big thing with that to me is implying like we have come too far. Now, does he mean all of them standing there? Okubo, Seki, Rio, Saopang, all of them. They're all going to be participating? Or does he mean we as a collective, like we as the OG Kengan characters? Like we cannot back down, and our representative is Okubo and Gao Lang, but the rest of us are not participating. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it something like that? Sort of left still once again open-ended. I'd like to get a full rush. I was hoping this chapter we'd see a full list of who was participating and be like, there is 86 fighters, participating. We can see the whole list, just the whole damn list, right? But unfortunately we don't get that. Rahito, and we see Cosmo, we see Ryuki, we see Kyozan, and then Rahito and Oma went for a little walk and stuff like that, sort of reminiscent a little bit, or Rahito seemed to want to reminisce it a little bit, and Gakigaru Forest, yeah. So anyways, he's talking about the fact, like, I didn't live there, yada yada, but when I trained in the Nico style, we get the flashback of him learning Demon's Bane. Rahito says, when you found your way to the Kengan matches, I was one of the first guys you ever fought and stuff like that, and and I'll be your eternal rival sort of idea. And we once again know Rahito has been at the foot of Kuroki Gensai himself, and he has certainly improved. That Berserker Bull win was huge, and we haven't seen him fighting since, but I would say that Rahito is what Koga was supposed to be. A guy who was at the level at the beginning of the series and is slowly across even the sequel series has been climbing, and it's appropriate given the number of years that passed, given the number of people he's fought, given his master, the one he's learning under, this is making a lot of sense. So Rahito has slowly and steadily, though, been climbing up in the power ranks. But there's a nice reminiscent of that sort of here, and they talk about it and say, like, you know, Oma, of course, it's still going to be Oma, is like a rival. I kicked the shit out of you. I kicked your ass. What are you talking about? Rahito's like, you want to go right now? We can go right now. He's like, nah, we're not doing that. And he's like, who says rival? It's not, rival's not a thing anymore. He goes, well, your sidekick is Yamagohan, right? So you only need one, you know, friend or sidekick. I gotta be the rival and stuff. And so they're both smirking about this idea. And so he's like, all right, fine. You know, you can be, your nickname can basically be rival sort of idea. And Rahito has to get one more thing in about Kaede and stuff. Because if you remember, he was kind of, early Kengan was definitely a little bit rated R more so than Omega. I think Omega has gotten part of the reason people say, like, oh, that's a lot of the AI art and things are a lot really generic and stuff, but I think it's to allow younger readers to be a part of it in a sense, because the early stuff, we haven't seen stuff like early Kengan dialogue and character wise, we haven't seen the R-rated side, the really dark R-rated side of characters in a very long time. So maybe that's part of the reason that Omega is trying to open up a little bit to a wider demographic in some respects and try to keep that stuff to a minimum. But he does it in a more, hey, is she seeing anybody? And he's like, I don't know. Ask her yourself, man. And I'm like, as the guy who ships, of course, instead of with the Cure Clan with Carla, I ship Oma with Kaede. So for me, I'm sitting here like, alright, cool. And then we finish it off by showcasing, we see Jiroda, we see Roland, we see Lou, we see Jean-Luc. They seemingly are standing there together, but I'm wondering if that's just to showcase them as being relevant to each other's, like they're both there for the same goal, to take down Nicholas. And it's just like, okay, maybe, because I'm like, I thought Lou's whole thing was, you are not participating, he's going to be pleasantly surprised. But, of course, the two Kings of Purgatory are here, and they mentioned this, so we assumed they were going to enter anyways. Like, Jiroda was not going to sit on the sidelines, Roland was not going to sit on the sidelines. But they're standing here with the almost confirmation of things like, one by one, these warriors assembled. Some came to face strong opponents, others to settle unfinished business. And the heat was reaching a boiling point, and we see a +1 frame advantage. Number one, this is Haro back in full form with shades and all, looking just menacing. This is Haro. This is Haro 100%. This is him. This is the man, the myth, the legend. He's got his hair back to the style that it was. Of course, he's not going to grow it as long. It's only been, you know, a couple months or whatever like that. But still, it's styled back to the way he was. And, of course, he's massive because Haro was tall and huge. And the funny thing is, he walks right by Okubo and Seki for some reason without mentioning. I think it's just for the comedic gag to see, is it him? Is it him? And the whole t-shirt saying, like, +1 advantage. It's like, yeah, because he's back in full form, you know? And Okubo's like, damn, that bitch is huge. Is he fighting in this thing too? And so he's like, yeah, that reminds me, big guys, where is Haro? Where is my apprentice and stuff? Meanwhile, he's right there, walking past, cool as a cucumber, in his peak physical form. And then, of course, we have to aura farm with meditation on a goddamn rock. Because the Devil Lance is there, and he's meditating in the middle of the waves of the ocean. Because, of course, how did he get there? He can run on water just like the guys in History's Strongest Disciple at this point. I would not put it past him. He's the invincible Superman at this point, and he just decided to, boom, it's meditation on a rock this time. Waterfalls, I've already done it on a waterfall. I beat up the Titanic. Now it's time for me to meditate on my defeat of an armored ship. And the man looks there, unscathed, no loss of limbs, just looking ready to fight. Now, what's funny about this next page is that, given the depth perception and stuff, I'm like, it weirded me out at first. It's almost like Hiroki is staring at these figures in the distance. I'm wondering if that's supposed to represent, like, the city, like the city that Okubo and them were overlooking, like those are supposed to be the buildings in the distance. But the next shot after we just see Kuroki and he doesn't say anything, is a bunch of hooded figures standing by the hillside, by the mountainside, saying, and now we have not only Kuroki Gensai, but here are the direct subordinates of the Worm and the elites. We have Yan is here. We have Fuzan is here. We have Nicholas Lebanner is here and stuff like that. And it's just like, all right, is he, like, are we meant to take this away from this set of pages, like this page and a half here, that Kuroki is being approached by the Worm and he's sensing their presence and he's watching as they're approaching him? Or is this meant to be just something, you know, it's just ironic, like, not ironic, what? Like, I don't understand, because the depth perception is really throwing me off. Is it throwing anybody else off? Because it doesn't make sense that they would be that big, because a guy in the distance right now is as big as Kuroki's head that we're getting right here. It's not making sense at all. I think it's just bad paneling, or just the way that the pages go in order or something like that. But it is weird that there's like these figures in silhouette and the rising sun or the fall or the sunset or what have you, and sunrise, sunset, I forget, are we starting at sunrise and ending at sunset? I believe those are the conditions. So and what do they want with Kuroki? Maybe Shen was involved or something like that. He's like, hey, I want you guys to go and talk to him for me for about this one thing or something. Or maybe they're approaching him of their own free will outside of Shen's knowledge. Maybe the dragon wants something to do, or the tiger wants something to do. Who knows? Anyways, we do see Shen, of course, there, and he's just like, I'm really excited. I can't wait for this. Let's freaking go. And finally, Noji is just like, it is time to begin. So all fighters, you know, report to the entry gate. So there's an actual official gate that they all have to collectively go to. And by the looks of it, if I can account for a few people here just by the back of their heads that we haven't really seen in the chapters properly, it appears to me that these are mostly, like, it's Chiba and Toa for sure. We have Kaede there, Koga, Ryuki. We already know that Oma's going to participate. It looks like Justin is there and going to go participate. We have a few of the members of the Berserker Bowl, the next generation, or whatever they called themselves, a new generation. And Sawada is there, approaching the entry gate. So is Seki. And is that Hatsumi right beside him? Is that Hatsumi-sen right beside him? It could be. It very well could be. Not sure, not confirmed. Kyozon's right behind Seki and potentially Hatsumi-sen. I believe there's the Falcon there. I'm not sure who the long-haired person is. Long black hair. Maybe Ryo, but I doubt it. Wasn't his name Ryo? The first one that... Or Inu. Iba? Iba? No, Iba. Iba sounds right. The guy with the hair attacks in a shirt. We haven't seen him forever. Yeah, just trying to pick out a few more people from this page here. I mean, Sao Pang's obviously off there to the far left. That could be Agito at the back. Too hard to tell because there's a dialogue bubble covering it up. And, of course, everyone else is silhouetted. So, obviously, we know some of the people already participating. But I think that next chapter is really going to be the exciting one. Next chapter is when we are going to see exactly who is entering and who, what fighters, whether they're D-tier fighters or even as high as A-tier fighters, and they don't want to participate. Because I believe we even saw Jose. Actually, now that I think, wait a minute. That's probably not Hatsumi. That could be Jose. That could be Jose standing, and it would make sense that we'd be standing by Seki right there. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But I believe we saw him in the background and stuff. Like, is he going to be participating? How many Fangs of Metsudo are going to participate? Like, is our fourth Fang going to participate along with Agito? Is Yumigahara going to show up? Is Misasa going to... Is Retsudo going to be involved? Like, who's not going to be here? Who's A, not going to be here? And B, who's not going to be here or going to be here but going to be a spectator who is above, let's say, an E, F tier fighter? Like, who in the C tiers is going to be left out? Who in the B tiers? I'm pretty confident in saying all the S tiers want this smoke. So, depending, of course, on your list on who qualifies as an S tier, maybe somebody will be left out. But hard to say. But as I said, the chapter is very simple. It's very short, and it's more about a guessing game. With that karaoke panel, I'm unsure how to read that one. Anybody else have that feeling? Like, is that meant to be like the worm approaching him? But once you look at the perspective of it, it's like that is so far in the distance that it could be a goddamn beginnings of the forest or trees or the city. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be people. So maybe it's just a bad perspective. Like, once again, there's a lot of AI drawn backgrounds and art in Kengan currently. So maybe that's just a flub in that regard. I don't know, but what do you guys think? Is that meant to represent that, or is it just the paneling threw me off and I assumed that these hooded figures were trying to meet up with Kuroki for whatever reason right before the beginning of the tournament? So, yeah, just looking forward really to 327 to see how it goes underway, and mostly, even if I doubt we're going to start off with any major fights right out of the get-go. But it will be interesting. I hope next chapter we do see the full list of everyone participating, and especially who is missing. You know, that's what I thought we'd get from here. We didn't, so is what it is. A little disappointing in that regard, but a fine chapter nonetheless. You know, we're sort of setting ourselves up for the final bout, as it were. So anyways, 326, that was Wednesday's chapter. I'm exhausted. Hopefully I can get this out by the end of the night, because honestly, as I said, this week has already kicked my ass for the last, 4 days, 5 days now. So, anyways, it's just been a long one. So, I'm glad it's not a chapter where I need to be, like, all hyped, all buzzed up, theory crafted, ready to go. Because, and what it means when some characters aren't going to be there and stuff like that. Because, honestly, just the low on the energy scale right now. Maybe I really do need to take up energy drinks or some shit. You know, I've never had one. Fun fact about me. Never even tasted a Monster, Rockstar, Red Bull, any of them. Never even tasted them, let alone drank a full one. So, yeah, because I hear they're absolutely dreadful for you. Probably so. Fun things usually are. Anyways, that's it from me, guys. Have a good one. Hope you guys had a good Wednesday, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday for 327. Without further ado, like, comment, subscribe. See ya.